As the wider details of Keir Starmer's cabinet shuffle become clearer, one thing is evident, that this wasn't a panic spasm. It was a controlled consolidation that retires the last traces of old Labour from the cockpit and elevates the Starmer-McSweeney-McFadden axis to run the next phase of government, a clear blue Labour. Darren Jones' line, "Not instability, the outcomes we're delivering are the same," is the tell. The centre intends continuity of delivery with a sharper political edge to the right. The trigger may have been Angela Rayner's resignation on Friday after Sir Laurie Magnus found a ministerial code breach over stamp duty. Starmer then accelerated a pre-planned overhaul, and the three big switches, Lamy to Justice and Deputy Prime Minister, Cooper to the Foreign Office, Mahmood to the Home Office, yielded an historic first, with all three great offices after the Prime Minister held by women. Pat McFadden takes a new super ministry, the Work and Pensions Plus, the skills brief from education, a machinery move that puts a trusted strategist over welfare to work, skills and growth levers. Jones himself is locked into the centre as Chief Secretary to the Prime Minister and Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster, a powerful number 10 operations brief designed to force delivery through the system. The junior ranks were also scrubbed and restacked on Saturday with appointments such as Jason Stockwood to investment, Anna Turley attending Cabinet, Ellie Reeves to Solicitor General, shifts across home, across the DWP, DEFRA, and sackings that thin union aligned voices and strengthen that sort of blue Labour thing. Jones has publicly rejected the crisis narrative and framed the timing as leadership under pressure. The choreography, rapid senior moves on Friday, dense junior slate on Saturday, matches a controlled reset, not a firefight. And with Rayner out and union-friendly junior ministers moved or dismissed, the centre of gravity shifts decisively to the Starmer-McSweeney project, professionalised, message disciplined and business fluent. Reports already flag union unease over workers' rights pacing, which reinforces the reading that this is an ideological tidy-up as well as an efficiency drive. Pat McFadden's elevation to a growth and skills super brief and Jones's number 10 role placed the most delivery-minded figures in the engine room. And if you want to state that nudges work, entry, retraining and productivity, you put Pat McFadden over levers and Jones over timetables, and that's exactly what has been done. Moving Mahmood to the Home Office, restocking the police team and clearing out parts of the old Home Office cadre signals a harder-edged, outcomes-first approach on borders and order. The field reform tries to dominate, and Farage insists he's unworried, but Downing Street has placed its best communicators where reform wants the fight. Putting Lamy at Justice and Deputy Prime Minister keeps a high-wattage media performer in the daily grind, while tasking him with criminal justice delivery. It also avoids dueling egos in the Foreign and Home Office briefs. Putting Cooper at the Foreign Office shifts a detail-oriented operator to a portfolio where caution and calibration are assets in this atmosphere of war, alliances and trade. And it removes her from a Home Office debate where number 10 wants plainer, punchier lines. Putting Mahmood in the Home Office is the clearest message, a campaign-hardened ally who already proved she can take tough, unpopular calls. At Justice, expect fewer slogans and more measurable actions. The winners and the losers in this whole game, and what it tells us, that's interesting as well. McFadden and Jones, command of growth, skills, welfare to work and the central grid. Peter, cow to business, tightening the growth story. Turley to the table, consolidating the centre's caucus. Old Labour, however, balance at the top and union proximate voices in the engine room. The employment rights flagship still exists, but critics would note personnel changes that could slow or sand it down. Douglas Alexander in Scotland replaces Ian Murray. That's a sign Starmer wants a heavier political operator in a tough Scottish year. Does it show grip? Well, yes, there are two major indicators of that. The government dominated a weekend cycle that could have belonged to Reform's conference. The coverage and the appointments rolled at number 10's tempo, and Farage was rendered almost insignificant. In terms of machinery, it created a super ministry and a number 10 chief secretary role, with hard-edged fixes to chronic Whitehall coordination problems. If they stick, you get faster decisions and clearer lines of authority. There are risks and constraints. Sidelining union-aligned ministers and sacking figures like Lucy Powell narrows the church, and backbench turbulence is the price. There's a delivery risk. Bigger briefs can blur accountability. Super ministries work only if targets and money are paired with unambiguous authority. If the small boats and the crime metrics do not move, the toughening up at the Home Office will read as cosmetic. The bar has been raised by the reshuffle itself. So what to watch next? There are 5 test points here. First, there needs to be a published delivery timetable from Jones that ties missions to monthly milestones and public dashboards. If it appears, the centre means business. McFadden's skills first welfare package with funding, conditionality, apprenticeship reform and local delivery deals. The structure exists. Now if the substance follows, that again is business. Mahmoud's first 90 days are significant. The channel metrics need to be watched. The asylum system throughout needs to be observed, and how that moves, how people move through that system. And policing outcomes on retail theft and knife crime also should be observed. The business compact under Peter Kyle, whether he can repair the bruised relations over tax changes while landing investment narratives that feel real outside the M25, that is the test. And as for the union temperature, if the Employment Rights Bill drifts, watch for a public rupture as early as the TUC season. Darren Jones is right on the narrow point. This doesn't look like a government falling apart. It looks very much like a government choosing its lieutenants for a harder fight on growth, borders and delivery, with McSweeney and McFadden in position to write the next chapter of Starmerism. Many on the traditional left would dislike the direction, but in terms of grip, focus and message discipline, this is the firmest number 10 has looked since July.